If you do the same thing as everyone else, you'll get the same results as everyone else. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the term mainstream muck and what that really means. And I'm kind of relate this to my own story. So when I first started in my business, I first started with something called day trading. And I think a lot of people start with day trading or stocks of some sort because it's like really shiny object. It's like you get to look at these graphs. It makes you feel like you're like, Michael Burry day trading these massive plays, and you just feel like a G. Even it's an ego play. You're just kind of rubbing your ego. You're stroking your ego. So what I did is I got into trading like most people. That was like my first endeavor within business. So whatever, I got into trading, and my first account was a $5,000 account. I traded, I did these strategies, I followed several different types of strategies, and I never really got much success with it. What I would do as my strategy, in retrospect, this is like totally dumb, but what I would do is I would look up on YouTube best stocks for healthcare, best stocks for electric cars, best stocks for growth in December, whatever, stuff like that. And what I would do is I would watch these videos with hundreds of thousands of views, and I would say, oh my God, that's a great stock. And then I'd buy the stock, and then the stock would go down, right? And what would happen is I would take this mainstream advice that everyone was doing, and I would do that, and I would lose. And I did this time and time again until my $5,000 account, which is when you're like 15, 16 years old, is a decent amount of money, went to like almost nothing, right? It dropped. I still have a little bit of money in there, but not a lot. So yeah, that was when I was younger. And what I realized is if you do the same thing as everyone else, you'll get the same results as everyone else. There's this Warren Buffett quote where it's, if you hear your shoe shiner talking about a stock and asking you about that stock, immediately sell that stock and get rid of it, right? And I said, okay, in a stock sense, that makes sense. Like in a stock point of view, when you're thinking about stocks and the market movements and graphs and stuff like that, that makes sense, right? But what about business? What about knowledge? So after I kind of came to a sense with that, and I started kind of my business and my endeavor in making money with my business, what I realized is the same thing applies to knowledge. What a lot of people will do is they'll read books like Atomic Habits. They'll read books like 48 Laws of Power. They'll read these books that are great books nonetheless. They're awesome books, right? But they're mainstream books. And what do these mainstream books do? They teach you mainstream advice. If you knew the amount Jeff Bezos knew, you'd be making the amount Jeff Bezos knew. Most of the time, it comes down to the lack of skill and the lack of knowledge that you actually have, right? So this is kind of my perspective behind it, in the sense of if you consume the middle, if you consume what everyone's consuming, you get the same result. And you can relate this to many other factors as well. For example, look at fitness, for example, right? If you take the average thing that everyone's telling you to do, eat a lot of vegetables, right? Don't train too much, avoid dairy, avoid red meat, right? And you follow this mainstream diet advice, sure, maybe there's some benefit to that, but if you compare a diet like that to a diet that's not a lot of people are following, but is actually truly optimal with the human anatomy and human digestive system, etc., then you'll realize less people are doing it, but that's actually the best diet, right? So for example, even back relating to books and knowledge, the best YouTube channels that I've ever watched, the best content that I've ever consumed that has been the most skill, like pertaining knowledge that has been on the internet has been stuff with like less than 5,000 views, less than 1,000 views, stuff with really little amount of people watching it. If I know not a lot of people are watching it, I know it's on either end of the bell curve. Let me give you an example. So here is a bell curve. It's pretty straightforward, right? You have the middle, and then you have your two tails. This is dumb, So this is like dumb. This is intelligent, like smart. And then this is the middle, right? The middle is not dumb and it's not intelligent. This is the middle. This is the common. This is 48 Laws of Power. This is what everyone is consuming. This is the popular stock. It's not going to get you anywhere, right? But on these two ends, this is where not a lot of people are consuming, the dumb and the super intelligent. So a video with 5,000 views about VSLs that no one watches, I know it's not going to be in the middle, so it's either going to be on this end, the dumb end, or the intelligent end, right? So at that point, I can then decipher if it's in that dumb or if it's in that intelligent end, right? So I'm just going to flip over to me. I am always trying to find things that are on those tail ends of popularity because knowledge is scarce, right? Information isn't. There's tons of information, but true knowledge that's actually good knowledge is scarce. Look at school, for example. If you do what school says and you follow the school system, where's that going to get you? That's going to get you to a job, maybe making 6 figures, maybe making 95, 100, 120K a year. Awesome. At the age of 35, 40, right? And that's the common path. The broad path leads to destruction. So in today's video, my entire thesis of this, I made a point with fitness, I made a point with books, I made a point with stocks, is if you want different results, you have to do different things, right? And think about the bell curve. You have to find things that aren't heavily consumed because the 1% doesn't have the other 99% in it. The 1% is small, right? So do you think the 1% potentially know more than those 99%? So find the pieces of content, find the pieces of books, find whatever the 1% is consuming and consume it for yourself. Is that process going to be hard? Of course it's going to be hard because it's not just available to anyone. But where do you find it? You're going to have to look. Where do you start looking? You can fucking look. Just look, find it. You'll eventually find it. Just keep looking, right? Once you are able to find these valuable pieces of content that you know are trusted, not by these mainstream YouTubers with millions and millions of subscribers who are telling you to read this book, that's not going to do anything for you, right? Find things that aren't largely consumed and consume them for yourself and watch your life change. Not a lot of people consume raw liver. Maybe raw liver is really good for you though, right? That's a little bit of food for thought. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. I appreciate you. Thank you.